Welcome back to the Deep Six Wrestling Podcast. It is May 17th, 2022. I'm Pat, and you're here, and we're going to talk about the New Japan Best of the Super Juniors 29 tournament, nights 1 and 2 from May 15th and May 17th. That's all this episode's going to be about. I'm not going to cover any other news or anything else. Just want to cover the Best of the Super Juniors. We'll save news for the AEW podcast tomorrow on Wednesday, or it might be out by the time you're listening to this. So regardless, just trying to get through these Best of the Super Junior shows so they don't stack up and become overwhelming. If you're new here, please subscribe to the podcast either on our podcast feeds, which can be found on Apple, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Overcast, Google Play, wherever you listen to podcasts you can find it, or on YouTube, which is where a lot of people seem to be listening to it. So if you're on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button, leave a like on the video, leave a comment to show your support, whatever it is. If you like the video, if you disagree with our takes, if you want to tell us who you think is going to win the Best of the Super Juniors, your favorite matches, whatever it is, comment. We'd love to push some more audience interaction for the future. So please consider leaving a like and comment on the videos on YouTube. And if you're listening to the podcast on podcast feeds, leave a review on Apple or Spotify. That helps us. It'll help us grow the podcast even further, which means more content. So in the long run, that helps. And, the more likes and comments we get, the more we know that people want to hear whatever content it is. So if it's New Japan posts or Impact posts or AEW, we know that you like it. So please consider doing that. Without further ado, we're just going to dive right on in. Also, be sure to follow us over on Twitter at Deep Six Wrestling. Without the G, there's no G at the end, but go follow us over there too. But we're just going to jump in. So it's just me covering this. I will go over our predictions that we did at the end of this so you can hear our score updates. If you missed, if you're on YouTube or the podcast, if you go back a few episodes, you'll be able to see that we did a brief little preview prediction show for the entire Super Juniors tournament. You can hear myself and Ryan go over our picks as well as the picks for Joey, Angelo, and Rob for the Best of the Super Juniors. So I will give points standings on that when we get to the end of this episode. But without further ado, we're going to start for night 1 of the Best of the Super Juniors. I'll go over the results of the tag matches before, but I'm not going to go over my thoughts on all of them. It's just, I don't see the point. So on night 1, we had Tiger Mask, Tenzan, Watto, and Eagles taking on Fujita, Oiwa, Nakashima, and Wheeler Yuta from AEW. And the non-Young Lion team got the win here with Master Watto getting the pin. We had Shingo Takagi, the current KOPW holder, and Bushi taking on Dick Togo and El Phantasmo in a dream match. That saw Shingo pin Dick Togo. And we had Titan, El Lindemann, and Jado taking on Taka Michinoku, Doki, and El Desperado, with Titan pinning Taka Michinoku. And that would send us into the actual tournament matches, with the first one being Ace Austin, the current X Division champion from Impact Wrestling, taking on Clark Connors from the LA Dojo, the Wild or White Rhino. I forget what his nickname is. Something Rhino. As somebody who covers Impact regularly and watches the show, I will say Ace Austin has been impressive for quite some time. They made note that this is his first time in Japan ever, and his first time wrestling in Japan as well, obviously. And I gotta say, he was one of the names coming into this tournament that I was very excited for. I really like Ace in the ring. His match against Trey Miguel recently at Under Siege for Impact was phenomenal. And I was looking forward to this match with Clark. And I thought these two, they only had about 10 minutes, but they went out there and they just lit it up together. I thought these two had wonderful chemistry. It was nice that, commentary really noted that Ace has a target on his back with the X Division title, that the guys in the tournament are going to want to pin him so that they can get a title shot. It adds to the stakes of all of his matches, which I think is a very good thing. It's just nice to see Clark Connors back in New Japan proper for the first time since 2019. He's really grown as a performer, and honestly, all of the LA Dojo guys have. So I'll be excited when Fredericks and Coughlin can get over too, because I really like them. But regardless, I thought this was really good. At one point, we had Clark Connors nailing Ace Austin with a spear as a counter to the fold, which is Ace's finisher. He just absolutely cut him in half, and I thought it looked wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Also have one of my new favorite wrestling moves here, which is Clark Connors' Extinction Elbow, which is kind of like a coffin drop elbow drop, which I thought was really nice. Eventually, Ace Austin would get the win, picking it up with the fold and earning his first points in this year's Best of the Super Junior tournament. And I thought him and Clark Connors both had a really good showing here, and I'm excited for both guys moving forward in the tournament. And I think Ace especially will turn some heads, especially since this is his first time competing in New Japan and his first time in Japan overall. So a new audience for him, getting out of just being in the Impact Zone. From there, we went to our next match, which was Alexane versus Yoshinobu Kanamaru. Alexane coming off of New Japan Strong into this tournament, not signed anywhere, still technically a free agent. And as commentary noted, he made his return to Strong after, as Chris Carlton put it, a brief excursion in WWE. I believe he was only there for a few months. I want to say 3 or 4 months before getting cut in one of the mass releases. So, and they did a really good job of putting over how that could, affect a competitor with their mindset and, getting into that system, having to learn that style and then coming back to the regular wrestling scene and, having to adapt. So I thought that commentary did a really good job of playing up Alex Zane's time in WWE and how it could affect him in this tournament moving forward. As for the match itself, I think this is the match that I cared the least about in terms of going into the show. It was not the weakest match on the show for me, but it was just fine. Kanemaru's a veteran, and Alex Zane is, still an upcoming face in wrestling. I don't necessarily think their styles meshed all too well, but it wasn't like it was detrimental. It just wasn't as explosive or as fun as it could have been. I'm curious to see how Alex Zane is going to do for the rest of this tournament. I think he could have some big showings against Hiromu, maybe Yo and Francesco. So we'll see, but I'm curious to see how he's going to do. Regardless, he picked up the win here. So Alex Zane gets his first 2 points for the tournament as well. After this, we got Francesco Akira with TJP in his corner representing the United Empire. This is Francesco's debut match for New Japan here. After debuting, I forget which show it was. I think it was Hyper. I want to say Hyper Battle, but I could be wrong. When he first made his appearance, and he is the Fireball. And it was him versus Sho, the Murder Machine from Bullet Club / House of Torture. I actually did have, I don't want to say I had expectations for this, but I was looking forward to this just because I've never seen Francesco Akira wrestle. And, Sho is Sho. Sometimes he's great, other times it's just riddled with House of Torture. Thankfully, this match saw no Dick Togo interference. He was not out at ringside with Sho, which I did enjoy that. So Sho's antics, I thought, were, pretty self-contained. It was just him doing this with, the Bullet Club style shenanigans, which I thought worked, decently fine in this match with him, distracting the ref and, using the chair on Francesco, trying to go for a count out, using weapons outside the ring and trying to go for a count out. I thought all that worked pretty well. So I can't say that, Sho cheating hindered this match. I thought it, increased the level of drama here. I thought Francesco looked very promising. I mentioned it to Ryan, Joey, and Angelo, but I just I think he just needs a little more refining with his work from like move to move. I think he's a really cool move set, but it's just putting the pieces together I think is the priority here. With like he had, towards the end of the match he hit like his big fireplex, which is a unique looking like German suplex, which looked really good, and then went for a pin, got a 2 count, and then followed up with something that commentary was referring to as the last round, which made it seem like, oh, this is his finish, and then hit it. It looked very impactful, and he just didn't go for a pin. He just started firing up, and then hit another move, and then got the pin. It just was like so a bit anticlimactic. So I think just the structuring of the way he gets to his match finishes and how he puts these moves together, I think could use some work. But I think there's a lot of promise. So he did pick up the win here, pinning Sho and getting his first win in New Japan. So 2 points for Francesco Akira in the Best of the Super Juniors. We went to Taguchi versus Hiromu. And notably at the press conference, Taguchi said there was going to be no butt stuff. This was going to be a serious tournament. First move of the match he goes for is his hip attack, misses and just lays down on his back, defeated, and tells Hiromu to pin him. Hiromu eventually would try, and he got baited for a roll-up here, and it just, oh well. And then we got a lot of running around on the outside, Taguchi just playing games. This was 10 minutes. Didn't need to be 10 minutes, but at least they kept this short. This didn't go like 15, 20 minutes, so it is what it is. Hiromu won. This was the weakest match on the card for my money's worth. Hiromu gets 2 points. After this, we went to the main event, which was Taiji Shimori, the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, facing off against Yo in the main event. I thought this actually was really solid between these two, personally. I still think Ace and Clark Connors was my favorite match of the show, but this would probably be number 2. I thought these guys did a really good job. Just, I thought Yo did a really good job selling. I thought they did a good job of, building Yo as a babyface with him going, like, getting his, I think his left arm just beaten down the entire match. So, working that over and just, they did enough to make me believe that Yo had a chance here, that I thought they did pretty good. And, yeah, I'm personally happy that Yo lost, not because I dislike the guy, but because I think that if he beat Ishimori here, his chances of winning the tournament would be down. And for those who did listen to our predictions, I did predict that Yo will be the one to win this year's Best of the Super Juniors tournament. So him losing to Ishimori on night 1 is a positive start for me. So we'll see. But I thought these guys had a pretty solid match. Eventually, it was too much for Yo, and he had to tap out to the bone lock. But yeah. So first night was pretty good. For those who haven't watched, I would recommend checking out Ace Austin and Clark Connors, Taiji Shimori, and Yo, and Francesco Akira and Sho. You can probably skip the other 2 matches without missing much, but those 3 I would say definitely go watch. Moving on to night 2, we head to May 17th, and our tag matches were Nakashima, Tenzan, and Yo taking on Fujita, Oiwa, and Clark Connors, with Clark Connors getting the win for his team ahead of his match with Sho on night 3. Our second match was Tiger Mask and Ace Austin versus Taka Michinoku and Kanamaru, with Ace Austin pinning Taka ahead of his meeting with Yoshinobu Kanamaru on night 3. And then we had Jado, Alexane, and Taguchi versus Dick Togo, Sho, and Taiji Shimori, with Sho pinning Jado ahead of Sho and Ishimori's matches against Alexane and Taguchi, respectively, on night 3. And that sent us into our tournament matches for night 2 for the first night of B block action. And we had El Lindemann versus Doki here. Commentary, it was just Kevin Kelly on this show. And Kevin noted that as soon as Lindemann was done this match, he had to get on a train and get back to Tokyo so he could wrestle another match. I believe he was defending whatever championship he holds for GLEAT right after this show. So that man seems to have a fun life. And yeah, this was a surprising match for me. I didn't really know what to expect. I'm not too familiar with El Lindemann. Doki is somebody who has grown over the past few years, and I didn't really know what to expect here. But I thought these guys had a pretty solid opening match here, and I was also shocked because Doki picked up the win. I was for sure El Lindemann was going to have a really decent tournament, and I'm sure he still can. But I was not expecting Doki to beat him in the opening round. So Doki won with the Suplex de la Luna in about 9 minutes and 20 seconds. So yeah, good for Doki. Doki got a win on the first night for him. So you love to see it for Doki fans. Bushi versus El Phantasmo. As a big El Phantasmo fan and a not big fan of Bushi, this was very mid. This is the only match on night 2 that I think is worth skipping. I just don't really think there's much you're going to miss from this. So if you're just listening to this review and you're looking for what matches to watch, and you want to, you're on a limited time, you're just trying to see the must-watch stuff, I would say skip Bushi and El Phantasmo. You're not missing much. Phantasmo would win with the CR2, and after the match he says that he has bigger plans than Kenny, bigger plans than AJ, bigger plans than Devitt ever did. So we'll see what exactly he means, but I think it's probably fair to say that whenever the Jay White era ends of Bullet Club, that El Phantasmo has been positioned to be the guy who could take the throne as the next, Gaijin leader for the group. And he has the charisma to do it, he has the ring work to do it, and he definitely could probably work in the heavyweight division eventually. So, I'm glad they at least have planted the seeds for Phantasmo to eventually take over. Robbie Eagles versus AEW's Wheeler Yuta. This is one I was looking forward to quite a bit, and I thought these two did, really good. This is a match I would love to see ran back in AEW down the line, or on, at another New Japan show. I just thought these two, their chemistry was really on display here. I thought they had a nice little technical match here. I don't know how I feel about Robbie Eagles' new gear. I'm so used to him in pants, and now he's in trunks, and I just it's definitely going to take some time getting used to. But Yuda's here. Yuda's in New Japan. I'm very excited for his tournament. And, it's just cool hearing commentary, play up Regal, Danielson, and Moxley, and their influences on Yuda. And seeing Yuda use, some of their moves and styles in the match here with using, the repeated elbow strikes. So I'm excited for Yuda's tournament. I'm hoping that some of these big matches that he has in the B block could be good. I'm excited for him versus Desperado specifically. I know everybody's not the biggest fan of TJP, but TJP is a very smooth worker. So I am excited for him versus TJP from a technical level. I'm also fairly excited for him versus El Phantasmo. So yeah, we'll see where it goes for him. But surprisingly, this was another, I would say this is an upset for a lot of people, because I think going into this tournament, a lot of people are expecting Wheeler Yuta to do, very good because he's the AEW representative. But he did take a loss here on the first night. He was rolled up by Robbie Eagles. So former IWGP champion Robbie Eagles is starting off his tournament strong, scoring a big upset win over Wheeler Yuta, the current ROH Pure champion. So we'll see. We do have the Forbidden Door show, so theoretically, somebody who pins Yuta could challenge him for the ROH title at that show. Otherwise, I would assume he's going to be in a Blackpool Combat Club tag match. Either way, they could always have Yuta defend the Pure title in New Japan as well if they wanted to. I guess we'll see. But I thought this was a really strong match technically, so I would recommend this. Master Watto versus TJP. This was a match on paper that I was not really looking forward to. I don't think Watto is all that special aside from being a meme, and TJP is TJP. But I thought these two actually clicked pretty well for what it's worth. I would recommend going to watch this. Just, I don't think this is one where it's this is fine. I would say it's pretty good. TJP would pick up the win here. He would tap out the IWGP Junior Tag Champ, so he has a win over Watto. If Francesco beats Taguchi, theoretically, I guess we could see TJP and Francesco challenge Team 6 or 9 for the Junior Tag titles after Best of Super Juniors ends. So I guess we'll see how that goes. And in the main event, we had Titan versus El Desperado. I thought these two had a really solid main event here. Night 2 I thought was a really good night for this tournament so far. And none of the matches were all that long, which I think really, helped it. It didn't feel like anything was being stretched for time or just made to feel like, a special New Japan main event. It was just all matches that were like under 15 minutes or around 15 minutes, and they felt like they were the perfect amount of time. They felt like they were, early tournament matches. And yeah, it was just fun. This was a fun match between two luchadors, and just a strong start to El Desperado, but a nice reintroduction for Titan, somebody who we haven't seen in New Japan since, I think, 2019, he was in Best of Super Juniors 2019. So, Desperado picked up the win with the Pinche Loco, and the former champion starts off his tournament nice and strong with 2 points. So, that is the first 2 nights of action. Again, the only match I would say you could probably skip from night 2 is Phantasmo versus Bushi. If you're an ELP fan, I guess go watch it. Bushi did have a really cool mask for his entrance, I will say that. Cooler than usual. So if you're somebody who likes watching Bushi's entrances for his masks, then, I can see you maybe wanting to just go look at what the mask was. But that sends us to our next night of action, which is on tomorrow, actually, I believe. We got one tomorrow. Yeah, we have Wednesday, we have Yo versus Clark Connors, Ace Austin versus Kanamaru, Taguchi versus Ishimori, Alexane versus Sho, and Hiromu Takahashi versus Francesco Akira as the lineup. And then night 4 is on Thursday, I believe. Yes, and we have Wheeler Yuta versus Doki, Titan versus El Lindemann, Master Watto versus El Phantasmo, Robbie Eagles versus Bushi, and El Desperado versus TJP. So those are our next 2 shows, and yeah, come back to the podcast and we will go over those as well, because I'm going to try and cover this tournament as good as I can. As for our predictions, I'll give you the update here. Coming out of nights 1 and 2, it's a tie at first place with me and Ryan tied at 8 points. Joey has 6, Rob has 5, and Angelo has 4. So, again, still very close. It's only the first 2 nights of the tournament. But we will see how this goes. And for those unaware, we do predictions here for Deep Six Wrestling. We do it for AEW, WWE, Impact, and New Japan. Angelo is the current predictions champion, and the title is on the line. But because this tournament ends after Double or Nothing is also for the title. So if any of the 5 of us come out of Double or Nothing as champion, we could lose it on June 3rd when this tournament ends. So a very short reign. And a very short episode for the Deep Six Wrestling podcast. So, again, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can subscribe to the podcast feed. All of the links you would need to find us are down in the episode description, as well as the links to our social media. So be sure to follow us over there. Comment who you think is going to win the Best of the Super Juniors tournament. Comment your favorite match. Whatever you want to do if you're on YouTube. We appreciate it. Be sure to leave a like on the video. Review the podcast. Anything that you can do to help us. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Until next time, I'm Pat, and thank you for listening.